Thanks for tuning in. I'm dedicating today's episode to puppies, solely to puppies. So everything we're talking about in today's episode of Canine Conversations is going to be geared all towards puppy problems, puppy issues, puppy questions, puppy concerns. So here we go. Andreja Majan says, Hi, do I give a puppy a treat if he do down sit on his own? As described in the question. Well, no, because he's offering behaviors on his own. At that point, I would not give the dog a treat. I would just acknowledge that he's sitting or downing, and you might actually want to link a word to the behavior. So when he goes down, you might say, good down, good boy, or sit, good sit, good sit. But rewarding for the dog for things they're doing on their own is only useful if you're doing an operant-based conditioning. So you're actually marking those behaviors. But if he's just doing it on his own, I really wouldn't do that much to it with it there. Henry Alameda says, what should be the first thing I should teach my puppy? Okay, this is the most common question probably on the internet. And the first things you should teach your puppy is to love you, to enjoy being with you, hand feed your puppy, give your dog a lot of interaction, give your dog a lot of structure, so you end up with a loving dog like Goofy, because Goofy's been with me since he was 9 weeks old. Okay, Goofy, that's very good. Now go lie down. Go lie down. That's a very good boy. I like hand feeding dogs, like luring and shaping behaviors. If you look at my member section, which is coming very soon, or it might actually already be up by the time you see this video, you'll see there's a section on luring and shaping behaviors. Also on my YouTube channel, tons of videos on puppies. So first thing you should do your puppy is watch my videos. Robert Hoffman says, I was under the impression dogs really start to understand and retain commands taught properly at around 6 months of age. Okay to correct me, I'm not sensitive. Thanks, Robert. I'm glad you're not sensitive. And yeah, the dog starts to retain what they're actually doing, but the reason I like to start training puppies really early is because the dog starts to learn biomechanically what we're trying to teach them, and that's really, really critical. So at 6 months old, the dog can kind of form a cohesive bond in his mind, like this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But really important, before that ever starts happening, we really want the dog to enjoy training and understand the biomechanics. So we're doing something, we're teaching the dog to love to train, and we are teaching the dog's body the biomechanics of this is a down, this is a sit, this is a come, this is that, and the dog can really start to associate those better when he's in that 6-month-old bracket. But definitely start training him early on. Hey, you guys knock it off and lie down. That's not you, Robert, that's my puppies. Goofy, Maya, lie down. Old School Gamer says, my puppy knows the sit command, also the down, the stay, but she will only do them when we are training. Only if she knows she will be rewarded. Other times she will look at me, and when I give a command, she will walk away and stand there, do nothing. I have an e-collar, and when that is on her, she will listen to every command. I don't even have to use it. It goes from 0 to 100. I leave it on 5. Any suggestions? Yeah, I mean, if you have a puppy, I'm trying to read this again here. First of all, an e-collar in a puppy is not really something I would use. You can. I don't think it's bad if it's used properly, but I think you're kind of going about this the wrong way. So what I would do is make sure you lure the treats much better, because what you're doing, fade the treats much better, because you're actually just doing this behavior where you're kind of making sure you're bribing the dog, basically. You're telling the dog, here's a treat, sit, here's a treat, down, and you got to get rid of that. So I've got videos coming out on fading the rewards, and you're going to need to get into that, and I'll get into that with you. So make sure you don't bribe your dog. Make sure the dog understands that they're doing a command. First we lure the behavior, then we shape the behavior, we lure and shape and make sure the dog knows what we want. Then what we start to do is we pull the treats away, and we make sure the dog knows that the dog has to do what we're asking them to do. Really simple like that. Okay. Arnold Helera says, what is the right age to start training your dog? So what's the right age, and what's the first things we should teach our dog? Can a 2-month-old Gerberian Shepsky, I don't even know what that is. If it's a dog, yes, it can be trained at 2 months old. At 2 months old, we let the dog play, we let the dog have a lot of nice fun times, but we start to lure and shape behaviors. We want the dog to learn biomechanically what we want, the proper down, the proper sit, the proper stand, the proper come, the proper stay, and all these different things. So make sure you teach your dog that that's what you're going to get rewarded for, that the dog's going to get rewarded for those behaviors, and he's going to enjoy learning from there. Shayna Carlson says, I'm having a terrible time teaching an 8-month-old lab pit beagle female to walk outside. She shuts down completely at the door. I've tried treats, prong collar, other dog in same house. I don't want to traumatize her. They have her since 8 weeks old. I don't know where this is going. I'm upset. I've run out of it. Well, see, you're upset. So what's happening? Lie down, guys. Lie down, both of you. they're playing here, and we're trying to film something here. So what's happening here is you're kind of over emotionalizing this, and to get a dog to walk outside is simple. Just take the dog and bring him outside. If you have to pick her up and carry her outside, you have to be absolute about this, unless you want the dog to start peeing and pooing in the house and having a horrible life, because it's going to be a horrible life for the dog to be locked into a house. You've got to be strong enough for the dog to make the dog do something that they might see as uncomfortable. Whether you're going to say the dog was abused and beaten and all this crap outside, forget it. You're not going to do that to the dog, so you need to give the dog the chance at a happy life, which you're going to do by making the dog do what the dog needs to do, and that's go outside. Marcia McCrory says, now my puppy pee in her crate. I can take her out and she pee, then she comes and goes in her crate. Well, you're not letting her fully relieve herself. And the crate might be too big. If the crate is big and the dog is walking around and going in the back of the crate and peeing and lying in front of the crate's too big. The crate needs to be small. The dog needs to be able to sit, stand, and lie down in that area, not walk around. If the dog's walking around, you got a whole different set of problems, and you're really going to make this a disaster. I've seen people do this. Don't leave her water in the crate. Watch this. I mean, you need to structure the dog. At 19 weeks old, the dog should still basically be going, out at certain times. The dog's 4 months old. You need to really get on the dog, and you need to do the homework on this one. So you need to start housebreaking the dog so that the dog knows we go out at this time, we come in at this time. We pee, we poo, we do this, we do that. It's really structure. Owning a puppy is a lot about structure, and a lot of you guys forget that when you get a puppy and you start to think that the puppy's going to just figure stuff out, and just because you put the puppy in a crate it's going to work, and people get electric collars and they think they're going to push the button, the dog's going to know what to do. It's not a remote control. A dog is a living, breathing, thinking being that needs compassion, and you need to give it structure. You need to give it the tools it needs to survive. That's what you sign up for when you get a puppy. Errol Anthony says, I have a 2-month-old German Shepherd and he's pretty intelligent. I don't know how you can tell at that age. But I'm having a hard time getting his attention to focus on me when I'm training him. So he's not intelligent, he's blowing you off. Can I have some pointers to get his full attention focus? Yeah, what you need to do, Errol, is you need to get the dog to focus on you by being very exciting. And you only need to do that for a very short duration of time. You don't need to do it for 8 hours a day. You need to do it for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if you can't be interested to a puppy, then we've got a whole different thing we've got to talk about here. So what I do is I crate the puppy, I take the puppy out, let the puppy go potty, and I have a bunch of treats in my hand. I start feeding the dog, I start playing with the dog, I start luring the dog into what I want the dog to do. And all those things seem exciting to the dog because they're interactive. Don't have the dog out in your house in your living room or the kitchen the whole time, and then play with the dog, talk to the dog, because then the other interaction during training doesn't become that interesting. You have to make special moments with the dog that the dog is going to learn it. So that's going to be really important. If you can't get his attention focus, you might also be getting it and it may not be staying there, and that's a different question altogether. So if a dog has focus and loses focus, that's normal for a puppy, especially at that 2.5 months old. My God, he's only a tiny, tiny puppy. So go slow, keep your interactions short, sweet, and super, super, super fun. Hope that helps. Dean Mr. Meister, I'm not sure. I have a 15-week-old Doberman. I'm trying to teach her the down. She is competent from sit to stand and back to sit, but she shows avoidance with the down. She just jumps off the raised bed and hops back on it again. I just don't know how to communicate the behavior I want. Yeah, so you're not going to be able to communicate it with a 15-year-old dog because it's not a communication thing. It's a visual thing. So you need to show her. So you're going to need to lure her down with a treat, lure her down with a treat, lure her down with a treat. And later, I've got some videos that I'm going to put together on my member section that are going to really deal with fading those treats and fading the lures and fading all that. It's going to be really important. But for now, just get the dog comfortable doing the down. And remember, always do the down from the stand to down, stand to down, stand to down, luring from the nose to the toes. Those are all the things you see. Watch my videos on doing the down. I've done it with a bunch of dogs, and I'm sure you can see it, and I'm sure it'll help. Okay, moving right along. Milo Nightmare, was that Milo Nightmare? Nickmare, I'm not sure. Anyway, hi, I hope you're fine. I am. And I have a question about my puppy. I have a German Shepherd puppy, he's 3 months old, and he bites. Tough one. I mean, he doesn't do it with me or adults, but with children. At first, it was only those who were afraid of him, but now it's all the kids. I I don't know what to do. I'm starting to get frustrated, and I yell at him when he do that. So yeah, so you can't yell at the dog. He's a 3-month-old puppy. The reason he's biting children is because children are very stimulating to dogs. They smell different, they play different, they move different, they act different, they sound different than than adults. Hopefully they're human beings. But the dogs generally, if they're not socialized well with kids, you're going to have a huge problem. So I suggest you get the dog around kids, but go out and find some children that are safe, puppy safe, that have been around puppies, that aren't going to yell and scream and talk in high-pitched voices and skedaddle around and do all that stuff. The children need to be neutral to the dog, and the dog's got, especially a German Shepherd, you've got to get this dog really neutral around neutral kids. And then you can start introducing kids that are higher drive, more exciting or anything like that, but don't do it too soon. Get some neutral kids around them and make sure people don't interact, and stop yelling at your puppy. Stop yelling at him. I mean, you can grab him by the scruff of the neck and tell him knock it off or anything like that, but at 3 months old, he's probably teething. He's probably going into his teething phases, so I wouldn't be doing any corrections. I'd have very short, limited interaction with kids, and with kids that are safe and that are going to make it a good experience for your puppy. Please listen to me on that one. Marcia McCrory says, my 17-week-old has found out she can stand on her hind legs. What's the best way to keep her off the edge of counters? Been correcting with a leash, long line, saying yes and treating on all fours, but she's not getting it. Okay, so what's more than likely happening, you're doing the right thing, by the way, but she's putting her legs up, you're correcting her, and then when she does the right thing, you say, yes, good girl, and you give her a treat. So what she's doing, she's chaining these things together. So she says, I have to put my paws up on the counter for you to yank the leash, for me to get a yes, for me to get a treat. So you need to make sure that this is not part of training, this is just part of life. And when a puppy puts his feet on a counter, I use my knuckle, and I give them a little gentle pop on their paws, and when they're off, I ignore them. I ignore them when they're on and when they're off. It's just a little bit more aversive when they're on. It's really important, because before somebody sends me an email or a message saying it's cruel to be firm with dogs who have their paws on counters, I'm going to tell you a couple things. One, dogs will put their paws up on a stove, okay, which is very hot. They can burn their paws. Dogs can put their paws up on a counter, and there can be knives and sharp objects up there that can be dangerous. A dog can put his paws up there and get medicine off a counter and kill himself. So if you think it's aversive to give a dog a strong correction for being on a counter, stop right there. Don't even contact me. Don't even talk to me about it, because there's a lot more dangerous things than giving a dog correction for being up on a counter. No counters. That's it. John says, is it okay for a puppy to be excited and jumping on you while trying to train? I think you've already seen that in my videos. Dwayne Amator does it all the time. If the puppy starts jumping on others and they didn't like it, what is a good positive way to get the puppy to stop? It's hard because the puppy's excited, but other people can't get it or handle it. Well, first of all, don't have other people around when you're training the dog, and get the dog to focus on you, train with you, and focus on you. And then when the dog focuses on you, when somebody comes near you, have the dog on a leash, give the dog a sit command, make sure, it's a puppy, a sit command, and limit your interactions. When the dog jumps on somebody, all that person needs to do is take a step forward into the puppy, and that's going to create a space aversion issue with the dog, and the dog's going to flop back. This might be a long video. Thanks for the video. I've been given a small leash and it's a nightmare as the puppy keeps grabbing the metal clip and I'm trying not to pull it so I could chip a tooth. I will get a 3-meter line. Yeah, so the problem is the collar is too long, so the snap is getting in front of the dog. So make sure you have the dog on a properly fitted martingale collar, and don't let puppies start putting metal things in their mouth, because if you try to correct them, you're gonna chip a tooth or break a tooth. It's very, very, very bad. So Gibson Gaming says, how do I shape the behavior of my 4-month-old corgi to stop begging for food when we eat? This is an easy one, Gibson. The puppy will bark and jump on our legs continuously while we eat. It's going to get even easier in a second. When I tell her no, she will bark even more. Boy, we're going to make this so easy. I know we aren't supposed to stop dogs from vocalizing, and I haven't. I never said that. I never said you shouldn't stop the dog from vocalizing. I've just been looking for ways to solve this issue. Real simple. Here's your tip, Gibson. Crate. Put the puppy in a crate while you're eating. Let the dog see you eating. Make sure you feed the dog after you eat. It's a really easy behavior. Some people believe you should feed the dog first. Biblically, if you want to get into that, you should, but we're talking about dog training here. You want the dog to learn the behavior to watch you eat, quiet, and then they eat. If you feed the dog first, more than likely the dog is going to do exactly what you're talking about here. But the dog shouldn't be near the table. The dog should be in a crate. Repeat it with me. Crate. Mike Tasty, I have a German Shepherd puppy. First time having this breed of animal. I know some things about it where they attach well to the owner. He's 4 months old and he's as big as my lab. When laying in bed, the dog tried laying on top of me. Not to sleep, but just trying to lay on top of me. Is this guarding, affectionate part of the animal, or is this him trying to be dominant? I don't know, because it depends. I mean, it all depends. If a person's laying and you can be affectionate or can be dominant. I don't want to get into that here, but what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make sure that the dog is at a very young age. The dog shouldn't be allowed on the bed, shouldn't be allowed on furniture yet. I usually do that at about a year old. I left the dogs on furniture, and the dog learns a really good behavior. That more than likely is formal puppies being affectionate, but don't let it happen. You're going to have problems with it. Sahara. Good day, sir. I have a Staffy 4 months old. He is so active. I want to know, can I train him to do like with your Malinois or the Staffordshire dogs have special training? Well, all dogs are dogs. All dogs can sit down, come, stay, heel, fetch, whatever it is. They're not going to, a Staffy's not going to look like a Malinois in the focus heel or something like that. But I've known people who have had Staffies, Pit Bull Terriers, all those, and done really great obedience with them. So yeah, by all means, keep going. You want to know about feeding him cooked meat or raw? That's up to you. You can do either one. Ask your vet if you got a problem there. And the second to last question here is Shiny Linoon. When should we stop giving treats? Okay, I'm not gonna go to the rest of the question because we're going to give the dog treats for a long time to get the dog conditioned to the behaviors that we're trying to get the dog to do. This is a super common question. I've answered a million times. You build a food-wise or a collar-wise, a food-wise dog, a dog that's only going to work for treats if you take the treats away too soon. If you take them away too soon, the dog's going to start to figure out, oh, you don't have treats? I'm not doing anything. By leaving the treats in for a long time and always reinforcing the behavior, you start to do exactly that. You reinforce the behavior. Reinforcing the behavior is what makes the dog learn the behavior without there being a reward. So later when we don't have a reward, the dog is so conditioned to doing the behavior because it's always been rewarded and we're linking a verbal word like yes or good or okay or whatever to it, that the dog will always do the behavior. So if anybody's telling you that you're building a dog that only works for food by doing that, they've never really trained a dog. So they've never trained a good dog. Go to an AKC competition and see some good dogs being trained, competing, and I guarantee they're all trained with food and corrections. Last one, Juan Celos. When is the appropriate age to start using a collar on a dog? Aside from crate training, what should be the first behavior to teach a puppy? I'm not going to go there. We did that already. Stay down, All behaviors should be taught together. Sit down, stand, come. All those should be taught all while the dog is puppy, all the while the dog is in prey mode and play mode and all that. And you're going to have to use a collar on the dog early on. Some people like using harnesses early on. That's fine too. But I put a little martingale on Goofy when he was very young. He had a flat collar and then a martingale. He's had a collar on his whole entire existence, and he's always enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Canine Conversations, which addressed puppy behaviors and a lot of puppy questions. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, share the video, tell everybody this is all about puppies today. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.